And welcome everybody to the Daily Space Weather, the most comprehensive space weather content on the entire internet. It's the main feature here at the Smash News Network. Least busted day, but it news. And we're looking at 3 wavelengths here from SDO, the Solar Dynamics Observatory, to see setting sunspot groups here in the southwest, possible rising sunspot groups in the northeast and the southeast, a reduction of sunspot number and the radial flux over the past 24 hours, but the story of the day is coronal holes. We've had an extended period of geomagnetic storm and geomagnetic unrest conditions. Here's a brief look at the intensitygram. We've got about 5 named sunspot groups at the moment. The possibility of solar flare still does exist for these setting groups in the southwest. That's your colorized magnetogram from SDO. And let's blast through some volcano news. Check it out, folks. It's a sundog. Yeah, it's called a sundog. That is like when you see the rainbow of colors. And it's not a rainbow. It's the sun shining through ice crystals. That's above the Fagradalsfjall volcano, which continues to erupt on the Reykjanes Peninsula in Iceland. Kamchatka, we're not sure if Karimsky's erupting, but Shiveluch certainly is. Volcanic ash not identifiable from Karimsky. 15,000-foot ash plume over Shiveluch as it explodes and creates a flight level 150. Sakurajima, 11,000-foot ash plume from Sakurajima. That's an uptick there at Sakurajima, I'm pretty sure. Suwanosejima, 6,000-foot ash plume over it. Semeru exploding on the Isle of East Java, Indonesia, flight level 140, a 14,000-foot volcanic ash plume, as Semeru also explodes. No volcanic ash observed from Popocatépetl in central Mexico, but it is back on the list nonetheless. Heading down to Central America, we see Fuego now erupting in an explosive and producing flatus in an explosive fashion. Flight level 150. It's a 15,000-foot ash plume over Guatemala from Fuego. Nevado del Ruiz headed down to Colombia. Nevado del Ruiz exploding. 23,000-foot ash plume over Colombia from Nevado del Ruiz. 2 suspects in Ecuador, both exploding. Sangay and Revenador are the names. They're both producing large ash plumes. Sangay, 20,000-foot ash plume. Revenador, 14,000-foot ash plume, or flight level 140, and headed even farther south to Sabancaya. In Peru, it's exploding. It's producing a 23,000-foot ash plume, and please don't pull Volta Caldera. It's a flight level 230. Earthquake activity here has been pretty low for the past couple of weeks, and really, even the past 90 days. We're seeing a very low number of 7 magnitude earthquakes. Largest quake of the past 24 was a 5.2 near Tonga. And most quakes here centered around the Ring of Fire, the area around the Pacific Ocean. Vanuatu also saw a 5.1. It was a 4.5 at Greece. And there was a mid-4 magnitude quake in California also, a 4.5 at Walker. So pretty calm here, seismically speaking. Just remember that any earthquake can be a foreshock. If there's something noteworthy we've missed, let us know in the comments what it is. And thanks to everybody who's been leaving so many comments the past few days. We appreciate your input. We consider the videos a collaborative effort. So, story of the day is coronal holes. So we're showing 193 angstroms. Interestingly enough, coronal holes are like low pressure systems because, well, low pressure systems on stars are so low and extreme that they're sending out streams of protons at a high rate of speed. They're highly magnetically organized areas, and they show us the solar polar field migration happening. What happens is there's not a lot of plasma in between us and that portion of the chromosphere, and Plasma orients and aligns to strong magnetic fields. When we don't have a lot of plasma there, well, portions of the sun just go blasting out into space. Plasma also has the tendency to block the detection of magnetic fields because it's, again, using its mass to orient itself to the magnetic field lines. Here's a 24-hour video from SDO in 171 angstroms, the house favorite wavelength. And again, we do have some activity rising, especially in the southeast. This activity setting in the southwest could still produce some large solar flares, so don't be surprised to see something like that happen. It has to happen soon, though, because soon that plasma will be out of sight. There may also be some activity rising in the northeast. We'll keep an eye on it. And when I say eye on, well, pardon the pun, the radial flux has dropped down to 113 solar flux units with the setting of those sunspots in the southwest. There's your 1 year chart. This is going to drop down to about here, 113 solar flux units. And Space Weather Enthusiast Dashboard, NOAA still predicting some geomagnetic unrest all the way into the day tomorrow, Wednesday, August 10th. So NOAA's expecting the coronal hole high-speed stream to subside then. I would give it another day. I'm not expecting that to subside until August 11th, but hey, that's NOAA's forecast on the Space Weather Enthusiast Dashboard. Next, we'll take a look at Earth's geospace. And we do have a heightened pressure environment here. That's magnetohydrodynamic pressure caused by that high-speed coronal hole wind stream, series of coronal hole wind streams. That's the last 4 hours. According to the Space Weather Modeling Framework model, magnetohydrodynamic pressure. Here's Earth's magnetic moment from the ground. Since we showed you Earth's magnetic moment from space, we show this daily on the channel. Thanks to all you new viewers out there. Realizing that the channel exists, we keep citing facts. And we're going to talk about cosmology for a brief moment, the local environment. Yeah, we're going to go all the way out to the local chimney. That's the last 4 hours of Earth's magnetic moment from the ground in magnetic flux density. So let's take a brief moment for station identification. This is the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. Do you feel like you're living in a banana republic? Well, there's been a lot of that going around lately, hasn't there? Press like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Tell your friends and foes about us. We must be citing too many facts. That's why our number of subscribers keeps getting stagnated. Remember how long we were at 1,300 subscribers? Well, now we're stagnated around 2,500 subscribers. So follow us on Twitter also. We've seen a slight increase and some interesting conversations going on over there about things like, banana republics. Look, curvature, flat earths. What about chemtrails? You want to argue about chemtrails? Hit us up on Twitter. We're also on Twitch. In fact, hi, streaming at the moment on Twitch. Twitch.tv/SmashAmash. Today's featured product is Galactic Federation Special Forces motto, Universum Liberate. You want to freak people out and make them think you're in the Illuminati? Well, tell them Universum Liberate. You can probably figure out what it means by searching for it if you don't know your Latin. It's the motto of the Galactic Federation Special Forces. So support the channel via some merch, perhaps. The print quality is very high. The symbolism represents the Milky Way galaxy, signal strength and security, and instantaneous galactic scale reach. That bright spot in the upper right, that's classified what that represents as Special Forces operations tend to be. So, Universum Liberate. Do you feel like you're living in a banana republic? Well, so many people do. Oh, it's perfectly fine, folks. I've been saying it since about 2016. Since journalism's dead. And, some of us continue to cite facts. Smash News Network, least busted name in news. One of the places that we put up information is on the Smash Team site. Smashomash.com/SmashTeam is where you can support us. Similar to Patreon, just with superior content and so on. We created our own subscription services site because Patreon couldn't do what we need to do. So support us there if you like, with monthly subscriptions. There's even an annual paid-up subscription at smashomash.com/SmashTeam. You can also find links to our SureMed site. If you want to beef up your health, consider a SureMed membership. Doctors by phone alone is worth $20 a month. There's also insurance you can actually add to your SureMed membership, including dental, vision, critical illness, hospital indemnity plans, and more. So check it out. Again, you can find the link on the homepage below this video. And our homepage is smashomash.com. Welcome to the Neo Renaissance. Congratulations on realizing the channel exists. We march to the beat of our own drummer. In fact, we build our own drums. We were inspired by pathetic censorship on Facebook to create our own website in 2018 around Christmas. So by February 2019, we did just that. We stopped whining about social media and created our own websites. There's also a forum. You can find the link there. Smashomash.com. Smashomash.com/SmashTeam. Links to our merch. Links to SureMed. Links to the YouTube channel, the Twitter page. We're all over social media. Smashomash.com. And let's get back to space. So here's the aurora forecast. Things calming down a little bit here in terms of the aurorae. Not as geomagnetically active at the moment as things were at yesterday's video. You can see, again, things calming down here in the past few hours a little bit. We can expect some geomagnetic unrest conditions to continue for at least the next 24 hours, maybe the next 36 to 48. So there's your KP index. We are now back to geomagnetic calm conditions at a KP3. We made it all the way up to a KP6 there with a sudden pulse of high-speed solar wind. Speaking of solar wind, here's your real-time solar wind. Solar wind density has been flatlined here around 10 protons per cubic centimeter. Current conditions are about 8.6 protons per cubic centimeter. Solar wind speed still here quite elevated at 562 kilometers per second. Let's get into magnetic data. There are your GOES magnetometer readings over the past 3 days. The GOES 16 and GOES 17, they're near equatorial geosynchronous satellites. And we're seeing a tighter range here over the past 24 hours. Lower highs and higher lows as high-speed plasma arrives from the closest star. The current sheet is polar. And we do have a South Pole current sheet headed our way. It's almost to stereo A at the moment. South Pole current sheet shown here in red. North Pole current sheet shown here in green. We may be switched over as early as tomorrow. I would say midway through the day tomorrow, Earth will be in a South Pole current sheet. And let's get back to the realm of coronal holes. We've got some incredible footage of coronal holes. First, our line of sight plot. Here's our line of sight field plot. And here's our line of sight coronal hole plot. So the coronal holes in question are North Pole oriented coronal holes. And as solar cycle 25 progresses, these solar low pressure zones are making their way to the opposite pole. Meanwhile, the south solar polar fields are doing the reverse. So we've got some migrating south solar polar field regions there showing up in the east, the northeast, and these coronal holes facing Earth are quite well defined. So here's our 211 angstroms wavelength. Great imagery of those coronal holes in that wavelength, and we'll zoom in a little bit closer. The source of high-speed solar winds, coronal holes. Again, low pressure zones on stars are so extreme that they blast protons out into space. And the material coming out of those coronal holes is about 90% hydrogen nuclei, ionized hydrogen particles. They want an electron real bad. Also helium coming out of there. Also some electrons. And also some other heavier elements. Yeah, heavy metal also coming out of there a little bit. But mostly hydrogen nuclei, solar protons as they are called. Coronal holes. Let's move to sunspots. We've got a reduction of sunspots with the setting of these 3 sunspot groups over here. Likelihood of solar flares is still a little bit on the high side, although it does get lower as time goes on because, well, once those are far enough out of sight, they'll be unlikely to produce solar flares. Likelihood of solar flares dropping. And here's your sunspot imagery here. This is 1700 angstroms. We've got like 4 named sunspot groups at the moment. And again, I can see some activity just rising here. A little bit later in the video, we may see some new sunspots. X-ray flux has been flatlined here over the past 3 days. Only one small C-class intensification. Those sunspots in the southwest have largely underperformed. If we do see any solar flares, the wavelengths to view them through the SDO would be 131 and 94 angstroms. 131 angstroms is the hottest plasma that the SDO views. There's 94. And no spikes in the proton flux. If we do see a flare, maybe we will see a spike in the proton flux. You never know. And we invite our viewers to look up and to understand cosmology. So here is a star chart. Did you know that the sun is actually moving towards Cygnus? Well, sort of. So let's head to Plasmascape. If you've never seen Plasmascape, head to plasmascape.com. You can find this spectacular imagery here at plasmascape.com. Just give that a minute to load here. It's well worth it, because it'll show you what's going on in the interstellar environment. Here at the Smash News Network, least busted name in news, we like facts. So, the local environment around the sun is known as the interstellar chimney. This is an hourglass-shaped bit of plasma. And we've got these different tabs open here, okay? That is because this area right here, the solar apex, that is the sun's motion within the local interstellar chimney. The sun is moving toward the edge of this large-scale plasma structure. That's the direction of the sun's motion within the local chimney. However, the entire local chimney is moving toward Deneb. So it's moving away from the constellation Taurus and toward the constellation Cygnus. If you zoom into level 4, you'll be able to see this. If you just rotate this on the galactic plane, you'll eventually come around to see the constellation Cygnus. And the local interstellar chimney is moving toward that blue supergiant star known as Deneb. It is actually a massive X-ray binary. If you want to read about Deneb, head to smashomash.com/forum in the Cosmology forum. There's a thread all about just that star. It's one of the more interesting ones, and certainly the ancients agreed. Again, if you zoom out to level 5 on Plasmascape, that shows you the interstellar chimney. That is the local stellar environment, and the shape of things there. It's a huge filamentary feature shaped like an hourglass, known as the local interstellar chimney. That's what the local environment is like. That is some fact about cosmology. Now, this is what's going on in the solar system. We're approaching a full moon. And let's do a 1 week forecast. There's where things will be on the 16th. We will have a gibbous waning moon on the 16th. And let's take a look at some coronagraphs. Unfortunately, we don't have any data from today from George Mason. Oh, we do have some data from today. Nice. So here's yesterday, August 8th. We do see some CMEs there. I don't believe they're earthly directed. We'll let that play through and we'll show today's imagery. So there's today's images. There's only 2 frames there. Let's move on to the Soho-Lascaux C3 located here at Lagrange 1 and the stereo A coronagraph at Lagrange 5 on your left. So there's stereo A for you new viewers. The Earth would be off in this direction. And from the Soho-Lascaux C3, the Earth would be behind you. From that perspective, again, the Soho-Lascaux C3 located at Lagrange 1, stereo A located at Lagrangian point 5. Again, I don't believe we see any earthly directed coronal mass ejections. Certainly not. All clear as far as Earth-directed coronal mass ejections. Now we do see some filaments here on the earthly side of the solar disk. This is the El Teide ground-based solar observatory in hydrogen alpha. You can see all these dark regions, especially in the southern hemisphere. Lots of plasma filaments. Could be producing some coronal mass ejections. And let's take a look at this active region rising here in the southeast. Right after we look at the GOES 16 SUVI. That's the last about 2.5 hours. Some great prominences down in the southwestern limb. And we'll also show the higher resolution, narrower field of view of the SDO over the past 24 hours in the same wavelength. That's ionized helium. Next, our bonus feature segment. This is the Satellites Community Dashboard, and we've got some significant charging hazards here. They're only surface charging hazards around places like Mexico. They'll be soon moving into the Central Pacific Ocean. Also some internal charging hazards caused by higher energy electrons around Oceania, the West Pacific, and the Central Indian Ocean. GOES electron flux here back into warning levels, at least for the GOES 17. So some high levels of electron flux there at the geosynchronous, well, actually at the F flare. So the GOES 16 and the GOES 17, they measure the electron flux at the F flare using radiography from their much higher geosynchronous near equatorial orbits. So here we're seeing a big increase in the electron flux, even higher than NOAA forecasted it. We were expecting it to be lower, and NOAA expecting it to go up even higher than this. No arguments there at the moment. We typically see lower levels of electron flux during coronal hole wind streams, so this one is an outlier. There's the 1-year chart, and you're going to see this rise way up here in the coming day. Next, we'll show the F ionosphere layer's ionogram. Again, it's located at about 300 kilometers of altitude. Here's the vibrational frequency of the ionosphere. And we'll let that play all the way through before we show the anomalygram. Here's the anomalygram showing anomaly in megahertz from the 30-day median. We've got some rapid swings from high to low frequency anomaly there, some extended low frequency anomalies over Mexico, the Eastern Pacific, Northern South America, large portions of Asia seeing low frequency anomalies. And there's the latest image, 1015 universal time ionogram, 1015 universal time anomalygram. And we'll also show the total electron content forecast, the coupled thermosphere, ionosphere, plasmasphere electrodynamics, are the free electrons in between your GPS satellite and your handset. That satellite located about 12,500 miles of altitude. Here's the total electron content forecast. And we're seeing fairly organized electron contents at the moment. And we typically do see more organized electron bands when we see high levels of electron flux. Keep in mind, folks, electrons are much less massive than protons. And some rapid swings there in electron content as well. So here's your latest intensity-gram. We'll refresh that. And here's your latest magnetogram, because we want to see what's going on down in this area. And we do see a new sunspot. So there you go. There's another new sunspot. There's a magnetic field. At the moment, we're only seeing alpha class. I only see one field, but hey, that's a pretty preliminary report. We'll have to keep our eye on that to see if it is alpha or beta class. We're going to put up one more series of images from SDO. This is the three-way composite featuring ionized helium and 2 species of ionized iron. Keep in mind, folks, this shows the 304 angstroms in the normal red color. It shows 211 in green instead of purple, and it shows 171 in blue instead of gold. So that's yesterday and today. Again, the story of the day is coronal holes. And let's move to the realm of meteorology. So the first thing we're going to talk about here at the Smash News Network, least busted name in news, is not the fact that you're living in a banana republic. Well, it depends on where you are. What are the characteristics of a banana republic? Well, they are rampant fraud, corruption, corporatism, and zero accountability, along with 2 justice systems. Usually it's for a small country. I think the definition needs to be changed. Hey, definition's changing of things. Let's go on Wikipedia and change the definition of banana republic to not include small countries. So we're looking at Saharan dust here. Quite a bit of Saharan dust in the Atlantic Ocean, and it's serving to shut down weather systems. So we've got this anticyclone happening right here. It's pretty weak, but that is a high pressure zone, and that dust has a tendency to tamp down weather systems, lowering the amount of convection that can happen because, well, it's massive air. And yeah, so that's what's going on. Lots of Saharan dust here around the Caribbean, especially the northeastern portion of the Caribbean. And let's get to our jet stream and surface wind reports. So here are the jet streams of Oceania and the Far East. Backward jet stream here over Southeast Asia. Here are the surface winds of this side of the planet. We've got a strong offshore wind here in south central Australia, maybe making for some good surf. I don't know. Let us know in the comments if you're seeing some killer surf around the land from under. Here are the surface winds of the Americas. And here are the jet streams. Jet stream largely staying north of the U.S. here. Anticyclone here off the coast right over Cape Cod. And convective forces at play over most of the U.S. Here are the jet streams of the central world, Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. And here are the surface winds. We've got some unfortunate weather forecasts here, once again, as certain places aren't getting a respite, like eastern Kentucky, where flood watches continue. Also some flooding in the western U.S. here, west of the Rockies. And some excessive heat in the mid-Atlantic states, parts of New England, Washington, Oregon, and Idaho. So here's your total accumulated precipitation forecast based on the GFS model for the next 72 hours. And yeah, Kentucky, not good. Not good. Again, that's your 72-hour total accumulated precipitation forecast. If your county is lit on the weather.gov map, head to weather.gov and get your county's weather warnings. Don't be in the way of water. Water is more massive than you are. It only takes a couple inches to wash your car away. So this is the GFS 72-hour pressure and precipitation forecast. That's where we expect things to be over the next 3 days. And let's continue on to our soil moisture report. So one of the features of windy.com is soil moisture. And yeah, it's a little bit on the moist side in portions of the U.S. Less than optimal, very moist around New Orleans as well, otherwise known as Nolans. Here's our NASA GOES lightning mapper. And we saw a quite active last about 10 hours of lightning. Check out all the lightning at the There we go. A lot of lightning there on the map. I don't know what's going on with the animation, but let's look at a real-time lightning map instead. Right after we pause for station identification. This is the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. So there's our real-time lightning map, courtesy of lightningmaps.org. We've certainly got some live cells here. Some active lightning there in northern Arizona. Also near Tulsa, Oklahoma. Around the Cherokee Nation, we've got some thunder rolling in. Quite a bit of lightning here around North America. Next, U.S. Doppler radar. We'll be mainly interested in the lower 48 here. Here is the shortwave radiation showing clouds and fog. It's the 3.9 nanometer infrared radiation satellite. And stagnant systems here in the southern U.S. as a result of the jet stream staying to the north. You'll be able to see some effects of that in the water vapor map. Again, you can see the jet stream staying largely to the northern portion of the U.S. there, not really aiding in moving systems from west to east. Convective forces at play in places like this where we've got weather systems moving in odd directions, such as in northeastern Oklahoma. Lots of dry air here, dry, hot air. Over places like Pennsylvania, skies are clear, temperatures are hot. Here's your recap. The U.S. Doppler radar. Clouds and fog. And there's water vapor. That's all the water in the atmosphere, by the way, not just the clouds, but the portion that's not condensed onto clouds. And that is where our composite video must end. So thanks for tuning in. Once again, congratulations on realizing the channel exists. Universum liberate, and may that solar wind be at your back. Opinions expressed in this video, not necessarily the opinions of Smash News Network, least busted name in news.